This video is sponsored by Gamos Metal Cruise 2023.
Amassing the bodies and pits as they die, sentient and filthy they rot. Flammable and singing, discarded like waste. For the fire of the handgun, you played it all wrong. And soul and valor.
Hails and welcome to Rauta's Underground Trio. This time we have three different releases with three different styles. Not so surprising if you've been following Underground Trio series. One of these is pure black metal, then we have one black death metal and one pure death metal one. And these are from two different countries, two from Finland, one from Denmark. Let's go from worst to best according to my own personal opinion, personal preference. Take no offense if you just disagree. Go with the ones you find fascinating, despite whatever I am going to say about these albums in terms of quality. I guess what matters to you is, will these styles, will these genres resonate with your preferences? First we'll start with Ky, Viper, Finnish band from Lahti, a second album here, and this is continuation to their album from 2016, which was of course before Rauta, and that was a really good album. I liked it, even though not much originality, but basically some A-class Finnish black metal. Now the second album, some 7 years later, now through Drakkar Records, is a little bit different breed. Basically, there are a lot of similarities, and some of the good stuff here is happening with Apotheosis is that the vocals are once again top notch. They are somewhat different from the previous ones. I am not as sure if they are as good as on the debut one, but I must say they are quite varied, and I like what they're doing with the overwhelming passion and commanding attitude and all that stuff. Now when it comes to the vocals, everything here is good, but the rest not so much. Now whereas the previous album was pretty much solid quality from the very beginning to the end, not exactly 5-star album, but still good nonetheless, the second album is mostly missing the good riffs. Really good, captivating riffs, really the good atmosphere and all that stuff. And that is partially backed up in a negative way, however, the production. The production is somewhat faulty, I would say. I mean, it's almost like the mixing phase decided, like, let's go vocals on top of everything. Then a little bit drums, of course. Which means the guitars and bass are more on the background, which then again gives a lot of this leading responsibility to the vocals department, which in essence means if you really can't hear the riffs and how the songs are played without a lot of focus on that department, it's gonna feel like, yeah, there's a lot of shouting, grunting, screaming, raspy ones, etc. And guitars are somewhere like, okay, let's just forget us and let's go home. That is, in my opinion, one of the major problems here. It's not like the songwriting is sloppy or bad, but it's just too much on the background. And let's be honest about it, none of these riffs are exactly very good. It seems more like the well has drained. I mean, it's like, what happened to the first album versus this one? I mean, it's almost like the band decided to put all the good ideas for the first album. The second album, they have been twiddling their thumbs for the past 7 years. It's like, oh, I guess we have to release something. And this something is very lukewarm experience compared to the first one. Make no mistake, this doesn't mean this is a bad album, but it's kind of a decent-ish only. Meaning it's better than mediocrity, given that. But when I kept comparing, because I listened to the first album before making this review, I was like, there's a clear distinction. At first I was like, if I'm imagining things, maybe the first album wasn't that much better than this one, but indeed it is. And now I feel a little bit like disappointed because of that. The first album was like, wow, and this is like, okay, whatever. So, kind of an aggressive black metal, but still lacking the proper aggression, the proper punch, the power and all that stuff. Partly I blame it on the production, but partly I blame it on the songwriting. So whatever happened, the band, in my opinion, went to totally different direction. It's almost like comparing a demo to the debut album, but in a wrong order. So take it as you wish. This is just my take on that stuff. Then we have Sturmtiger from Denmark with Transcendent Warfare. Second album by the band, which has been out there since 2003, 20 years now. This is not the most active bands. However, only 2 albums out. This band has been putting out some EPs and other smaller releases. So it's not like they have been totally gone from the scene, but it's just being lazy and slow when it comes to the releases with these albums. This one is kind of a death metal with a little bit black metal and trash in the mix. Meaning, one could say, this is kind of a war metallic light. That comes not only from the Black Death combination, but also because the tempo is quite fast, pretty much all the time. Not all the time, but mostly dominating. And also with the war themes and all that stuff, when it's like just coming onto you fiercely. Not slow like Tank, you know. More like, I don't know, some fighter planes. Just much of explosions. Now, this aggressiveness saves a lot of this, what otherwise might have been happening with Q, is that this is way more aggressive and it comes with a kind of a pump. Now, the production is pretty solid, but not exactly great. I mean, it does its job and supports the music here, and same can be said about the aggressive vocals. Then again, if you really think about the riffs and the compositions, nothing out of ordinary here, which is why I'm not praising this album. I don't consider this like a solid 4-star, more like on its way there. Hardly better than Q, but some minor details here and there make the order, for me at least, kind of easy to figure out. So this is for war metal fans. This is for fans of death metal who like death metal or trash metal in the mix, but it's not like dominated by black metal or trash metal parts for that matter. It's mostly just death metal, and there you have it. Death Black would also give kind of a good idea what's going on. Would actually give it a little bit more sense than just called pure old school death metal. Because at the same time, while the production is a little bit old schoolish, I would say this is still a little bit more modern take. Partly because of the combination. Then not sounding at all like, you know, when Behemoth started doing their Black Death with the more modern touch. So take it as you will. But I think war metal is just safe way to describe the whole band, and you'll get a proper idea. Then the best one is a new band from Finland called Dead Talks, and this is Veneration of the Dead. Now basically this is a corpse molester cult reset. I mean, most of the guys here, 6 members in the band, 5 of them are ex-corpse molester cult dudes, and that band was active for some 14 years from 2005 to 2019 if I remember correctly, but they never made that much of a music, so they quit a few years ago, and now it seems like the whole thing has been reset, you know, with the, once again, old school death metal, once again going back to traditions, and with the same kind of a lineup, but just with a different name and all that stuff. Feels like a fresh start to me, but can't really complain because I think this kind of a band really deserves a chance. Why so? Well, nothing exactly new is happening here. Think about old Entombed, old Sunlight, and old Boss HM2 sound, and you're pretty much set to go. Now, these guys are all veteran in the scene. You might recognize some of them, especially Mr. Joten here as the amorphous vocalist. Here, however, he's doing guitars, and this guy here is doing the vocals. And what vocals are really good. Say hello to LG Petrov of Entombed, may he rest in peace and all that stuff. So this is very much like going back to old school death metal. Back in the days when, you know, Dismember was exactly death metal, not death and roll. Think of also a little bit maybe Dismember, Grave and what have you from Sweden. So this isn't exactly Finnish type of death metal, even though it comes from Finland, but more like let's do Swedish sounding death metal, you know, the Finnish way. And the result is good. Production is very powerful, supporting, heavy, you know, everything is right there as it should be. The vocals are powerful and kind of a very, very traditional growly ones. Nothing out of ordinary here. Exactly, this is not about reinventing the wheel, but quite the contrary. The thing here is, this is going back to early 90s, when death metal was, in European standards anyway, very simple but effective. Heavy and just kind of like back to their powerful riffs, no gimmicks, no bullshit, no, I don't know, no tricks, but just old school death metal. And Dead Talks is all about that, and this is why I like it. This is definitely the best in the pile, and I would say 8 out of 10 of an album. So, the quick recap. goo, some kind of a traditional second wave black metal with a little bit modern twist, some Black Death by Sturmtiger from Denmark, and the best one in the pile, Dead Talks. So all these are different styles, so go with your personal preference. You will find links provided in the description box, Metal Archives links, Bandcamp links, what have you, Facebook links. So go check out their music, pick the ones that you like the most or what you're most fascinated with, and start enjoying the music. Should you have any questions regarding the releases or the albums, let me know and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Meanwhile, off you go, listen to some good metal. Bye bye.